Hey everyone, it is Diaperperv and JayBDL, and today we are going to craft a fantasy scene scenario that you plan on sharing with others.
It's going to be like a little writer's workshop in here.
Yeah.
And the idea, the key part here is sharing with others, because I think a lot of us have our own fantasies in our head. And we've made videos before about how you can share your fantasies with partners, but if you're really sharing it, like, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Right, so we're going to do those steps, I guess.
Yeah. And, why is it, important to talk about, like, how you're sharing it? Well, like, okay, if you say, I want to be diapered and tied up, great. Like, we can go straight to that, but is that really fulfilling for your scene? Probably not. There might be other parts of that you want to do.
Yeah, because that's really general. Let's say diapered and tied up.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the storyline behind it?
Exactly.
What's the motivation for someone to diaper you and tie you up, and then what's going to happen after that?
Yeah. Now, I personally struggle with that part, like, really big. And the idea that you want to have this thing happen, and in your head you have all these emotions that are wrapped up in it, but they don't have any form. They don't have necessarily maybe dialogue, if there's like certain things you want to hear or you should be hearing, or how to progress into that place where the fantasy reaches, your fulfillment. So yeah, I think it's important, like, okay, let's take an idea and let's flesh it out.
Right, with all the details. I think it's also important for solo creators to have little storylines to make their content more interesting, because there's only so many times where I join like a site, like a Just for Fans, and then I see the creator just like doing the same thing, like rubbing their diapers and then like, coming in it, and then that's about it. I want to see a storyline as a customer.
Yeah.
Like some type of fantasy scenario that leads you to that point.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like, taking a picture in diapers and wanting to share it because, wow, my diaper looked super poofy that day, or I was wearing a really cute outfit. Nothing wrong with that. But when you can build something of a story around that, then it adds a lot more to the person who's going to view it, and it elevates what you're looking to share with everybody else, too. It makes it more impactful.
Right. It's a lot more engaging because then, like, the customer can use their imagination, I guess, to create their own little storyline.
Exactly. So yeah, let's
do it.
Let's do it. So, like, for me, I've had like ideas, fantasy scenarios around, medical fetish and restraints in a medical environment and diapers, things like that. And so I have down here, like, straitjacket and like sort of institutional looking restraints and things of that nature. And it's great to just jump right in and do that. And you'll get something of a story out of that. But I don't know how fulfilling that would be.
Yeah, because then they're just items without a story and without a reason and intent. Then I would just be putting items on a person, and that's it.
Yeah. And that's, again, for some folks, that's all they want. Great. But I think if you can add on to it and increase the experience, it's even better. It's like if you're going to a theme park and all they had was just a plain vanilla roller coaster. I'm sure that would be fun.
Yeah.
But the roller coasters that have themes built into them.
Like Space Mountain.
Like Space Mountain, exactly. Those are going to be a lot more fun and enjoyable because you're taking in all of this other sensory information.
Yeah, and also the stuff that comes before the ride, which would be, I guess, the scenario, like the stuff in the queue line and the characters in the queue line. You learn a lot more than just getting on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and just to tie back into like another environment we all go into that has a lot of that built in, and you can tell successful from not successful. Scary things, scary movies or haunted houses. If you just put up, you're decorating your haunted house and you just put up some cobwebs and, a scary clown, sure, it's scary. But if you have somebody jumping out from behind the cobwebs as a scary clown and little chuckles playing from hidden speakers and, You set everything else up.
Right, there's lighting, there's sound, there's environment, there's so many different factors. Okay, so we're gonna do your scenario.
Yes.
So you like to think about medical stuff and diapers.
Yes. And so I think, like, for me, one of the earliest fantasies I came up with when I was starting to explore this is the idea of waking up and, you know, there's been an accident and now you're in diapers and you're going to be in diapers and they need to take care of you, or, you know, something happened and now this person is, like, controlling you.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of one of the things I've always really liked, is sort of that idea, and that's kind of where it always kind of began. So how would we go about fleshing this out?
Okay, so let's narrow it down a little bit. So in your fantasies, is it, who is they?
So they would be like a nurse, for example, or some sort of caretaker, you know, even like in the story Misery by Stephen King, where you have the crazy person who's taking care of you, and it's a little crazy, so the way they take care of you is not exactly normal.
Oh, yeah. So in your fantasies, is there like malicious intent behind it, or not really? Or it's more matter-of-fact medical, like we have to do these things?
That's a good question. I think it started as more matter of fact.
Yeah.
But it's also a little bit of a mind game. That I don't see the reason for it, but this person is so certain of why it needs to be there that it can come across malicious.
Oh, yeah, totally. And in a medical facility, it could be experimental too.
Exactly.
So in my eyes, that's the role I would like to play, is like a nurse, doctor in an experimental facility where you were in an accident.
Yeah. So waking up from an accident is where we start. Nurse or caretaker could be malicious or matter of fact, or in a way both.
Both. I think it's good to encompass a lot of different changing emotions depending on what's going on, and also reacting to you, because what I'm doing as the other person is I'm reacting to them too. Like, sure, I can have my own storyline and just play that out only, but as, like, when I was a professional fantasy facilitator, I'm reacting to them and what they're doing. So if they're not having any reaction, then I still have to just make up the story. But if they are reacting, then that makes my job way more funner.
So we have a scenario,
which
is waking up from an accident. Characters or participants, if this is a scene you're going to be doing in your bedroom or a dungeon or something like that. And so now that we have these characters, like, we can understand what you're going to do. So the patient, which is going to be me, I'm confused. I'm tapping into what I think of in that scenario, what I would feel when I'm thinking of that fantasy and what it was about. Confusion is a big one.
Yeah.
Probably fighting against the scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to be here, or I don't understand, I want to leave.
Right.
That sort of thing. So that's kind of, that helps define, like, okay, what should I be doing as part of this? Now for the nurse or caretaker, like, they are, like we said, malicious. So again, it's my scene. But if I'm building this with a partner, I can ask their input.
Right.
So what do you think, the nurse or caretaker person, like, what should be their feelings?
I think just matter-of-factly, trying to control the situation, trying to administer whatever their plan is, and not giving into it. And maybe making it a little bit worse because you're not complying. And then also enjoying it a little bit because I'm a sadist.
Yes, sadistically enjoying it. I like that. Yeah, see, and like, when you think of your own fantasies, you think of you. You think of what your role in that is. You don't think about
the other person.
So having somebody here who does that role and has experienced it, really all of a sudden to me, like, I hadn't thought of it that way, and I'm like, oh, that brings a whole new dimension to it.
Right.
Like, what this is going to feel like and be like is, feeling confused and helpless, and this person that, as I'm struggling against it, is, doing punishment, and why they're doing that, because they're trying to maintain control and administer the treatment, and they're even sadistically, like, all of a sudden, like, I actually feel, like, sort of happier thinking about that now. Like, that's more fulfilling.
Oh, okay. Cool.
All right. So you have your characters. You have a general scene.
Yeah.
I think the other way, so when you're creating this, how would you tie it together?
But also, okay, are we going to talk about what's in the scene? The actual, like, actions in the scene? Because obviously, like, you're going to get diapered, right? Or are you going to wake up already diapered?
I think both, in a sense. But
Okay.
yeah, I think, like, if we're saying, like, what's the starting point, I like the idea of, like, waking up already in this position.
Okay. Great. And then having additional stuff put on you?
Yeah, potentially, like, that is, like, you should wake up feeling sort of helpless and unable to do these things and struggling. And only able to make so much progress before it escalates.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So waking up in a diaper and being told you've got to use your diaper now.
Yep.
And then, like, well, screw you, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And as you try and get up, you're pushed back down, or something happens.
Right.
And
or you're restrained already, and like some part of you is restrained, maybe.
Yeah. Or, like, if we're doing a whole thing, like, from an accident, see, this is where when you talk about it, you start to get ideas.
Exactly.
I like the idea of, like, I wake up, I'm in a diaper, and I'm like, well, screw you, I'm going to go use the bathroom, and I get up, and then, because there was an accident, or there was something, you pass out, or you fall, or something happens.
Yeah.
And now you wake up again, but now you're restrained.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fun.
And, like, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm thinking of this from a filming perspective, but it could also be like if you're doing this as a continuous scene with a partner, they push you back down and restrain you, which could be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay. So what else is going to happen in your scenario, in this fantasy scenario? You're already diapered, told that's your bathroom, straitjacket.
Yeah, gradually more and more is taken away.
Okay.
So
we'll use the hood.
Yeah, so you go to, like, using a bondage hood, you go to using more restraints, and then you go to something like...
So maybe completely restrained, like like your wrists are tied to the crib and then both your legs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, like, getting more and more, still trying to fight back against it. And then as you start behaving, then you get your rewards from the nurse, right?
Right.
Like a little bit of magic wand time, or maybe a bottle to feed you.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. That's fun. Do you get to come in this scenario?
I mean, ideally, sure, yeah. That would be nice, but that could also be part of the treatment/punishment. Like,
right.
You could do ruined orgasms, edging, tease and denial.
Right. Those are all the possibilities, but what do you want? Right now we're talking about you. We're crafting our scene.
I like the idea that it's pushing me back.
Yeah.
Taking away more from me to the point where I'm left completely helpless.
Okay.
And then sort of at the end being resigned to this as a new life or a new reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, like, other things, like what would the punishments be? So we kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. I guess maybe spankings. Impact spankings. Would you want that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could do. Yeah.
We could use a paddle. I have the cane, so I can, like, do that to your thighs.
Yes.
Inner thighs.
So impact is good.
On your hand or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything like that.
Okay.
obviously this is important if you are doing a scene with a partner to negotiate where you are okay with that and what level you want to do. And this is not like to say like if you're at a dungeon and you're going to do a pickup play, you go through all of this. But if you already have some of this written down or committed to memory and you can discuss it with someone, it makes it easier. So like we're just spitballing a lot right now.
Yeah. Can I leave marks or no?
I would prefer not,
Yeah.
personally. But others, they may want marks, and that's fine.
Of course, lots of diaper checks.
Diaper checks and humiliation, yep.
Yeah.
I want that.
Maybe pretend that someone else is coming by, or I'm showing a new nurse
Mm-hmm.
to further the humiliation. Bring other people into it.
Exactly. Other things to tie in that I would like would be things like chastity, maybe a butt plug or something like that. Those are always like fun ideas.
Wait, did you want to do that in your scene, or no?
I mean, maybe.
Okay.
I didn't really bring a lot for that though, so I'm not too
okay.
worried about it.
Okay.
We can keep it simple for this one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think this one will be more about the bondage.
Yeah, more medical fet. Like
Yeah.
keep it more like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of stuff. What else do you think would make for like a good scenario? Like from a nurse's perspective, what would you want to be able to do?
From a nurse's perspective, like realistically, maybe a temperature check rectally.
Okay.
What do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I already said like plugs or butt play. That would fall right in line with that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do nurses do?
Take
Take your pulse. I don't
No. Like feedings.
Oh yeah.
You could do something there. Enema, but I don't think I want to do that. No, I don't. I don't want to do that.
Okay. Well, how can I feed you without showing it on camera?
Again, we have
the
open
thing
mouth.
with the hole.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Okay, that works. So like liquid feedings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something like that. And if this is something we're doing for film that we want to just like... Again, if we're doing this for film, we can play around with a lot of this. Like we could fake an enema just by hanging it with water and releasing it, but it's not actually going anywhere except into a diaper.
Yeah, that's true.
And like you don't even see it.
Yeah.
It just fakes it.
Good point. That's true. You could do a lot more in a fantasy filming scenario, like almost anything.
Yeah. And so like if you're doing this and you're using this to like make content for your socials, for your just for fans, for whatever you're doing, remember like it's fantasy. Yes, maybe you do want to go through with it, but sometimes that's not convenient. That's okay. You just have to make it look real.
Yeah, I've done that before in the scenarios.
Yeah. So we could do stuff like that.
Okay. How did you want it to end?
Good question. Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but for me, I think what I like is at the end being transformed and just completely helpless.
Okay.
So the idea is at the end that I'm now in thick diapers forever and ever, and possibly have been regressed or changed in a way that, you know, I'm not comfortable unless I'm wearing my onesie or a pacifier or something like that.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's been the outcome of the treatment, shall we say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just physical, it's also mental and psychological.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what should we... Because I've got like a lot of great ideas here.
Great.
How... Just to tie it into a neat little package.
Yeah.
So you need... Who are your participants?
Yeah.
By the way, participants can also include people watching a scene at a dungeon. Like, take that into account. If you're going to do a scene at a play party or an event, and people are going to be watching you, that doesn't mean like audience participation, because that's generally frowned upon in that kind of scenario. But just knowing that there are people there, and if there are people there, planning your scene around that, because maybe you'll have less space than you thought, or maybe you'll be embarrassed about doing something that you would do in private.
Yeah.
So just know your audience.
Yeah.
And if it's just for you, go hog wild. So your participants, what is the scene? Your scene should have beginning, middle, and end. What props are you going to be using? And that goes for every participant should have a desired outcome. It's not just a one-way street. Both people should get something out of it, or multiple people should get something out of it. So yeah, goal or outcome. I think that's really it.
Yeah, I think those are great things for everyone to answer.
Yeah. And like, we can take kind of what we've talked about here and also include it in the video description so that people can just like get a quick list of like, hey, here's what you want to do.
Good idea. I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
All right. I think we got it.
I think we got it. Well, let's film that.
All right. We're going to film it. Sweet.
Bye.
Bye.